This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
Don't you listen to what the man says.
Hey, and welcome back to the show. This is Boomer Life on CL 650, and we have Dr. Ted Venema here, our regular guest from Next Gen Hearing, located throughout the Lower Mainland, the island, and also in the interior, right? Yep. Many different locations. And we have another special guest on, Sean Riley from Oticon. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's your turn now. Tell us about Oticon. What do you offer as a hearing aid company?
I can tell you a bit about Oticon, just the history of us. We're the oldest hearing aid company in the world.
Really?
112 years. Oh. Yeah, so it's been we've been around for a while.
What was the original hearing aid like? It must be in a museum somewhere.
We
was that trumpet?
Yeah. That's where it all started. Yeah, it all started.
Is that really what it was?
Yeah,
yeah.
The original hearing aids were trumpets.
Really?
Then they would build them into chairs. You know, they would have openings, and so when the person across the room could speak, the openings in the chair would pick up the sound, and it was delivered by a tube into the guy's ears. I mean, they did everything. But the best ones are the ones you could wear. You could wear across your head, and they had a pair of trumpets hanging out right by your ears. Now, I know I'm on the radio. It's kind of hard to describe here. I'm moving with my hands a lot. But
it's almost like a headband.
Yes, and it had two little trumpets, one for the right and one for the left. Yeah. I'd buy me one of those if I possibly could.
Great for parties.
Got to look at eBay. Find out.
Yeah. So Oticon was behind all of that.
Yes, so we started that, and we're a Danish company.
Okay.
I think one of your earlier guests talked about they were a Danish company, and there are three hearing aid manufacturers from Denmark.
What's with Denmark? Is it? I know they're known for their furniture and stuff like that, but
and higher taxes.
Yeah.
So it was the Queen of Denmark had a hearing loss.
Oh,
and so this was where it sort of started from, and went from there. And it's a small country, but.
For some reason, Denmark has three out of the 7 hearing aid manufacturers came out of there.
So we've heard some of the new high-tech stuff. We joke about the trumpets, but so where are you on the frontier of what's new and what's coming? What do you have to?
We just launched a product. It's the latest greatest thing from Oticon. It's called Open, and it's spelled OPN, but we pronounce it Open. And it is when we take a look at what traditional hearing gives you, is it delivers speech and really tries to focus on one speaker while separating everyone else. That's how traditional hearing aids have worked. But that isn't the best way to do it. The best way to do it is to open up the sound around you and act like natural hearing. And that's what our product does. So it opens up 360 degrees around you, analyzes the environment, and makes sure that you're hearing everything. The technology behind it is moving very fast. We can essentially analyze the environment 100 times a second, up to 500 times a second, across 16 different channels. And this just gives us the ability to really understand speech in noise. And this is what it really focuses on.
Let me ask you then, like a lot of other hearing aid companies focus on directional microphones, that they really focus like a beam on the speaker that the listener wants to hear.
Yes.
And you're saying that the Oticon Open departs from that philosophy or
Yeah, and the reason we've done that is in all of our previous technology all worked on directional hearing and focusing this beam. And that was the industry went in that direction. And it was, at the time, it was the best way to do things. But I'll use an analogy. So when man first took flight, the Wright brothers, we had a propeller. The propeller got lift and we took off. And the propeller was the best source of flight for ages, right? And until we invented the jet engine. And the jet engine doesn't use the same principles as a propeller. It uses
a totally different
set of technologies. And so that was a paradigm shift. And so the propeller could only get so good. You could only get it so light and the right angle and the research of the propeller went to a certain extent. And this is what we did with directional technology, is from not having directional technology, you remember this, Ted, to directional technology was a huge leap in technology. Then it got better and better and better, but there was diminishing returns. What we have done is we've looked at the industry like the jet engine. we have done things differently. And the reason we can do this is because of our new chip. It's called the VLOX chip. So your listeners don't need to know anything about VLOX, but this is what we call it. And this is what the product Open uses.
So I'm guessing it has amazing computing power, as you mentioned, up to 500 times per second. That's quick computing.
That is extremely quick. The other thing it does is when we look at, we're one of the oldest, we're the biggest hearing aid manufacturer in the industry. You may dispute that with your last guest. With the we're sort of the Coke and Pepsi.
Right. Okay.
Got it.
With one of the other competitors, we can argue about who's first, but let's say we're first or second. And we've been using this technology, and we're leading edge with our previous product. This new product is now 50 times faster than our previous product. So imagine buying a computer 3 years ago, and then your next computer isn't twice as fast, isn't 4 times as fast. It's 50 times faster. And this is what this new chip allows us to do. We are doing 1.2 million instructions per second. These are numbers that I can't even understand. I'm a sales guy, and so this is these are the things I look at. But this is the engineers tell me this.
So your previous product, did that focus more on directionality then? And is the propeller?
It had exactly. It had the best of the best propeller. It had that directionality. It had that. Now we still our company is founded on a couple different philosophies, and one of them is natural hearing, using the natural cues. And so yes, our previous product had directionality. This product does not use directionality as traditionally intended.
Okay. And just for the sake of our listeners, directionality implies have focus on the direction of the sound you want to hear to make the speech you want to hear louder than the background noise.
Yes.
And Oticon now has put their emphasis on a different syllable.
Yeah, and how we've been able to do that is the speed of the chip. But what it will also do practically is you're at a dinner table and you're talking to somebody in front of you. That's great. They're in front of you and you're attending to that. And then the waiter comes up behind you and says, would you like any coffee after dinner? If you can't hear the waiter walking up to your table, if you don't have that spatial awareness, if you then can't hear the waiter even say anything, you're missing out. You're missing out on what's going on. And so what our system does is it analyzes 360 around you. It is able to balance the environment. It is able to understand what is speech and what is noise. And it can focus on speech in front of you, behind you, beside you. And it can take noise and reduce it. It understands what's speech and what's noise. It can also work so fast that it can remove noise in between words.
Right.
This is the speed of the chip, and this is the direction we're going in.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty fast.
Because here we are in a radio station. You used to have limiters and compressors, right? And as soon as you stopped talking, the compressor would suck up the noise in between your voice, and then as soon as you start talking, it would suppress it again.
Yeah.
So what you're doing is just taking that away, because that up and down, back and forth with the sound volume going up and down can be frustrating, right?
Yeah.
So this is just eliminating unnecessary stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because what is necessary is speech. And we have other technologies that we've developed that will positively identify human speech over anything else. So it knows what speech. And it also focuses on what is close and what is clear. So now we have a hearing aid that understands proximity. And Ted, you've probably known this, where people will say, yes, I can hear, but I hear the person across the room better than the person in front of me.
That's right. That's been a common complaint of hearing aids that are developed over the past 15 years. And that was a type of compression that was used, a technology called what they call WDRC, Wide Dynamic Range Compression. And that hearing aid technology amplified soft sounds by a lot and loud sounds by little or nothing at all. Because most people...
So I guess they were trying to achieve what you're achieving, was this like a balance, but never really got there.
No, they couldn't really get there. It was a good technology and its heart was in the right place.
Right.
But as you say, it made a lot of that pumping type of perception, that change in volume constantly. And because it focused on amplifying soft sounds, well, people sitting at tables are softer when they're sitting further away from you. So it's going to focus on the soft sounds more than the person across the table that's 3 feet from you.
You're not an engineer, but I wonder how it can distinguish noise. Speech obviously has a different kind of waveform.
Yeah,
maybe that's why, but
it does.
it's quite fascinating.
Yeah, speech
that it's able to, but would it be able to distinguish whether it's the television versus the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Those sorts of things.
You're right.
So it certainly knows what human speech is, and it can filter that, and it does it through the timing, 100 times a second or 500 times a second, depending on, and I'll maybe clarify that. It typically runs and analyzes the environment at 100 times a second, but when noise is present, we crank it up to 500 times a second.
Wow.
But it also, how it does this, it does it across 64 channels. So we take the speech environment and we break it into channels, almost like keys on a keyboard. And we can filter them specifically per. So we have 64 channels, and then we break the...
From like bass to mid to treble.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So we're able to filter the environment a lot more clean and a lot more exact. The other thing that we've seen with this product, the Open by Oticon, is that we can get 20% less listening effort. So when I say 20% less listening effort, that is compared to our previous product.
Well, it's interesting. I want to take a break there because I have a question for you, and I want you to hear your answer. So you've kind of alluded to my question.
Yeah.
That's Sean Riley from Oticon talking about Oticon Open, and you're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650 with Next Gen Hearing, and we'll pick up the conversation next right here on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.